and it came across the radio that Miles Davis and Dr. Seuss died on that same day. Wow. So close to it, and I was like, wow, Miles Davis and Dr. Seuss, two American treasures, and they both went zoom on the same day, you know. And you know, Dr. Seuss, his writing was off the page in the back of the book, upside down, just out there. And Miles Davis, his music was off the musical scale and just out there. Two geniuses. So I wrote this poem, and it goes, I call it Miles Away, or Dr. Seuss on the Loose. And it goes like this. Every who down in Whoville, the tight and the loose, was singing the loss of Miles and Seuss. Miles was the cat in the hat. He'd think of a lick, he'd think it up quick. He'd practice this lick until he was sick. And with that trumpet, he would play, 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 through the Who night until the Who day. He would play, 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 play. And all the Who down in Whoville, the Who girls and Who boys, they knew that this sound was a lot more than noise. It was a lot more than sound. It was round, it was square, it was down, it had flair as it bound, 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 bound up the downstairs. So, you know, we have these discussions every so often about what is strength, you know, and sometimes people mistake kindness for weakness and strength for rudeness or power, you know, and I don't get that because, you see, kindness comes from a place of strength, you know. Weakness comes from a place where there's a crack in somebody's character, so they're a bully or they resort to violence. And so I don't know how that, you know, that played out where kindness is, somebody does something kind, and right away someone wants to take advantage of them. Oh, you gave me a quarter. Oh, give me another quarter. You know, they try to take advantage of kindness. And so it's just so off the scale. And so this is a story that comes from Central Africa. And it's in this book by Margaret Reed MacDonald. She collected these wonderful stories. The book is called Peace Tales from Around the World. World Stories to Talk About. And the story is called, What is Strength? What is strength? The animals were having this discussion. What is strength? Oh, I'll tell you what strength is. Strength is that. No, that's not strength. I'll tell you what strength is. Strength is, no, that's not strength. No. They're arguing back and forth. Finally, the lion said, look, time out. Tomorrow, we'll meet right here in the clearing and we'll decide once and for all, what is strength? Tomorrow. They all decided. Next morning, the baboon showed up, came down from the mountain. The lion showed up. The cheetah just appeared. Elephant waddled over. They were waiting for man. Man was late. Well, he finally got there. Before he came into the clearing, he hit something in the bushes, and man stepped into the clearing. The lion said, okay, today we're going to find out what is strength. Who'd like to go first? Baboon said, I'll go first. He ran out to the clearing, climbed up a very tall tree, jumped off the top of that tree, bent that tree right in half, tied that tree into a knot. The baboon jumped back and said, strength. All the animals went, woo, yeah, that's strength, all right, yeah, that's strength, yeah. Lion said, my turn. Lion let out a great big roar and started to dig in the dirt. Dirt and dust flew up in the air. 2 minutes later, dirt and dust settled. The lion had dug a hole 20 feet deep. Jumped out the hole. Lion said, strength. All the animals went, woo, yeah, that's strength. Yeah, that's definitely strength, yeah. The cheetah said, my turn. 100 yards, 2.2 seconds. Strength. Animals said, whoa, did you see that? He was a blur. Yeah, that's strength. Yeah. Elephant said, my turn. There was a row of eucalyptus trees. Elephant put his head down, trunk down, plowed over a dozen eucalyptus trees, wrapped his trunk around 2 of the largest trees, and whoo, threw them out to the ocean. Elephant said, strength. All the animals said, that's it. Yeah, that's strength. That's definitely strength. Man said, my turn. Man walked out into the clearing, ran across the clearing, did a handstand, a backflip, a cartwheel, another cartwheel, jumped up and said, "Strength!" The animal said, "Well, you walked on your hands. That was okay, but that's not like strength, you know what I mean? It's not strength." "Okay, watch this." Man, he dove into the river. He swam across the river, came out of the water, climbed up a coconut tree, got 2 big coconuts, smashed them together, slid down the tree, dove back into the water, swam across the river, came out and said, "Strength!" The animal said, "Well, you climbed the tree. The swimming was cool, but that's not like strength, you know what I mean?" "Oh yeah? Oh yeah? You want to see strength? Okay, I'll show you strength." The man went into the bushes where he'd hidden something, and what he'd hidden was a rifle. And he came out of the bushes and went, boom! And he shot the elephant. And the elephant fell over dead. And man said, "Strength, strength, strength, strength." And animals, they were going, they gathered deep in the forest and they said, "What was that? What was that? What was that? Was that strength? What was that? Was that strength?" And they looked at one another and said, "No, that wasn't strength. That was death." And ever since that day, when man walks in the forest, he walks by himself. For the animals see man come, they all run from man, because man is the only animal that doesn't know the difference between strength and death. Thank you. And that's why in the title of that book it says "World Stories to Talk About." So it's a collection of conflict resolution stories, about maybe a dozen stories in that book. It's really worth taking a look at. It's called Peace Tales by Margaret Reed McDonald. So I get the feeling here with this camp and the folks that come here, the kindness and how we all try to help people out. You know, we all sort of reach out in certain ways. We try to help people, and sometimes it's tough to find a way to help people, or they don't accept that help, or we're just not approaching it correctly. Well, there was this young man who he went to college and he learned all sorts of wonderful stuff about how to be kind, how to be helpful, and so he thought he'd travel to different countries and be helpful to people. And so he landed in this foreign country, and he's walking down a path toward a village. And as he's walking toward the village, he sees a man down in a hole. And right away, he sees this fella down the hole, and he looks at the fella and he says, "Give me your hands." And the fella down the hole goes like this. He goes, no, give me your hands." And once again, the fella down the hole goes like this. He goes, "No, give me your hands." And the guy goes like this. He doesn't understand what's wrong with him. And he goes to the village and he goes, hey, there's a fella down the hole down there, back down the road, and I'm trying to help him out, but he won't give me his hands. And they go, oh, that's Joseph. He never gives, he always takes. And he runs back and goes, "Take my hands." So it's always, trying to find a way to help people. We all try to do that, and sometimes you just have to figure it out, figure it out. So, I'm hopeful that we're through this pandemic and that people are taking care of each other and themselves. And it's so nice to see people gathering. And so this is a story that it's used around the world, especially with the civil rights movement and around in different countries around the world. And it was just something to help inspire people. And it goes like this. Once there were 2 frogs. This is a sign for frog. Once there were two frogs. There was a young frog and an old frog. They were curious frogs. They lived in a pond. They lived across that pond, they saw a field. Well, they were curious frogs. So they swam across that pond, got onto that field. They were looking all around because they were curious frogs. And they hopped across that field, they saw a farm. They were curious frogs, so they hopped over to that farm, and they were looking all around because they were curious frogs. And they saw a barn. Well, they hopped into that barn, and they were looking all around, and they hopped up on a pail, and they looked down, and they saw some milk. And they didn't know what milk was, but they were curious frogs. And there was a cow right there, and as they was just staring up at that milk, just staring down at that milk, that cow wagged its tail like that, and that cow's tail hit the post. It frightened those two frogs. That young frog, that old frog went right in the pail of milk. Now the young frog was frightened, the young frog was scared. The young frog started crying, we're gonna drown, we're gonna drown, we're gonna drown. The old frog said, let me think, kick your legs, kick your arms, keep kicking, kick. And the young frog started kicking his legs and kicking his arms. And the old frog was kicking his legs and kicking his arms. He said, I'm scared, hold on, we got this somehow or other. We have to have faith, we have to hang tough. We have to think of options, alternatives, other ways. We have to hold on. What did he say? Hold on, keep kicking. We got it somehow or other. Maybe the cow will drop its tail down the pail. We'll climb up its tail and get out. I don't know. Just hold on. Keep kicking. We have to have faith. We have to hang tough. We have to think of options, alternatives, other ways. We have to hold on. Keep kicking. Maybe the farmer will come in, spill out the milk. We'll get out that way. I don't know. Just hold on, keep kicking. And the young frog was kicking, and the old frog was kicking, and finally the young frog and the old frog, they were completely exhausted, and they couldn't kick any longer, and they stopped, but they didn't sink. You see, all that kicking, don't get ahead of me now. All that kicking and treading turned that milk into butter. It was still soft, but it was just hard enough for them to get some leverage. And they sprang themselves out of that pail and went hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, back to that pond. And just like that old frog inspired that young frog to hang tough. Just like that old frog inspired that young frog to think of options and alternatives and other ways. Just like that old frog did that, we have to reach back and grab a hold of them youngins and say, hold on. What you gonna say? Hold on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've really enjoyed my time here, and you got a wonderful event going on here for 21 years. Is it? That's great. That's really wonderful. This story that I want to share is from the island of Martinique, and it's a mouthful of a story. And it goes like this. Listen if you want to understand, and you will hear how a woman who'd already run out of luck gave birth to her 14th daughter, thus complicating the impossible task of feeding her family from an empty cupboard. In an attempt to get rid of her youngest without God noticing, she would send her off to the deep, dangerous forests for things that were useless and above all, not to be found. One day she sent her into the woods for a pound of butter. Without any backtalk, the little girl set off to look, wherever one would look, in the woods for a pound of butter. Walking and daydreaming, she soon found she lost her way and could not find it behind her, in front of her, or on either side. Soon she came across an old woman sitting in the way that old people sit, beneath a tall fern. Mama, I'm lost. The old woman, sweet as honey, led her into her woodland hut, a hut made of bones and straw and feathers of white birds. The roof was of coconut husk, held together with the spittle from webless spiders. This is most definitely the home of an obeah woman, which some of you might know as a witch. But this little girl didn't know anything about that, for what she didn't know was way more than what she did. Inside the gloomy hut, the unwavering flame of a candle illuminated a rocking chair, which the old lady sat herself down into, with a creak, creak, creak. The little girl murmured, "Mama, I'm hungry." And the old crone replied, with a voice made thick with flaccid gums, "And me? It's thirsty I am, always thirsty. Go fetch me some water, and I'll give you all the food you want." But the little girl grabbed a calabash by the side of the door and went down to a nearby spring and came back with a calabash full of water, which the old woman threw down her gullet in one gulp. More! Well, one trip led to another and another, and calabash after calabash the girl dragged back. The old woman threw it down as if her throat was south of a burning desert. "Mama, I'm hungry, I'm hungry." "Well, my darling, you find out my name, and I'll give you all the food you want. And I'll even give you a pound of butter, and I'll even show you your way home. But first things first, find out my name." And by disappearing, she made herself invisible. The little girl sat in that hut as the candle flame flickered, causing shadows to dance on the wall like lace curtains blowing in the wind. And soon that candle sputtered out its last glimmer, and the room fell into complete darkness. And the little girl started to cry with such distress that a big, big, big serpent, no, not a snakeling, but a nice thick fat snake, slid across the floor as if it were a pet dog, and even rubbed its head against her legs to reassure her, which I'm telling you would have not have reassured me in the least. But alas, I'm no longer a child. Some of the creatures in the forest know her name. Go ask them. Though it was after midnight, the little girl went out into the forest, and under a cathedral of bamboo, she asked 22,000 rats if they knew the old lady's name. Not one of them could tell her the old lady's name. She looked on the velvety side of leaves and asked the lizards if they knew the old lady's name. They had to confess they did not know the old lady's name. She climbed a custard apple tree and asked the possum, who only looked up from its nocturnal feasting to admit its ignorance of the old lady's name. And down by the backwater marshes, she asked the he-toads and she-toads if they knew the old lady's name. They did not even stop in their acrobatic amours to croak out their ignorance of the old lady's name. And since we're going into detail here, neither did the horseflies, the wood ants, the stink bugs, the nene bugs, the noisy hummingbirds, or the fat caterpillars knew the old lady's name. Soon the girl grew tired of this and she sat down by a spring. Now in these days, crabs lived in these refreshing spots with their 7 crab wives, their prodigy of crab children, their inexhaustible swarming of crab cousins, godchildren, and godparents. And the crabs, they were something in those days, because at the end of their long necks, they had pert little heads, topped with cunning little flat-brimmed boulders with egg-shaped crowns. Oh, they were something in those days, the crabs were. And because their straw hats did not cover their ears, they heard all the grapevine gossip, the rancid rumors, the malicious hearsay, the tittle-tattle, the yakety-yak, all the dirt dished out at funerals, and just plain rubbish. And since you may be easy to get lost with all that jabber, when she asked the crabs if they knew the old lady's name, they all called out in unison, "Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman," as they danced in capers around the spring. Now the thing with the crabs, despite their long necks and their flat-brimmed boulders and their egg-shaped crowns, they had more legs than brains and more claws than smarts. When the little girl asked them for something to eat or way home with just some encouraging words, all they said was, "Madam Killyman, Bradyman, Killyman, Madam Killy." Soon the girl grew tired of this and went back to the hut. And at the crack of dawn, the old lady appeared, adding the creaking of her bones to the creaking of the rocking chair. Creak, creak. "Well, my darling, do you know my name?" "Yes, I know your name." "Oh, good. Because if you don't say my name, I'm gonna eat you on the spot. What a fright. The little girl lost her memory. She said, Straganona, Baba Yaga, Moesha, and names such as that, to the sinister amusement of the old woman, who no longer bothered to conceal her true nature, as a parasitic vine grew up through her hair. Her teeth became as big and yellow as cows. Her nails became claws. Her feet, how do you like this, now displayed a clothing sheath of shining gray horn, which storytellers, given to exaggeration, call hoofs. And she was just about to come off that chair to devour that little girl, when the little girl called out in dizzying speed, Madam Killyman, Ready Man, Killyman, Madam Killyman, The old lady started to spin like a top, tiny flames jiggling out all over her body. You beat me, you beat me. She pulled fistfuls of hair out of her head. She beat her right breast over her heart. She had one, but on the wrong side. And she said, you can have my house and everything that's in it and all the food you want. And the little girl started to eat. Eating's not the word for it. And Madam Killyman, Brady my Killyman, yes, she, the old bear woman of vices and sorcery, the chamber pot crony of more than one old zombie, the Bat King's bedfellow and the buff, practically chief head cook in Hell's Kitchen. She grabbed her cutlass with its blade of misfortune, honed sharp on the grindstone of disaster, and set out in the early dawn light. And at her outraged approach, the creatures in the forest scattered so briefly as so not to cramp her style, that she did not come across an ant, not even the shadow of one, until she crossed over the savannah, where she surprised a three-horned bull named Biff. And without court of justice or a kearney at law, she lit into Biff. She said, hey, you Biff, you know my name, and you're the one who told everybody my name was Madam Killyman, Brady Man, No, it wasn't me, I swear it wasn't me. And she looked him up and down as he shook his shivers. And just to be mean, she ripped off one of his horns. And ever since that day, bulls have two. And then she crossed over the next savannah, where she surprised a five-legged mule named Miles. And without court of justice or attorney at law, she lit into Miles. She said, hey, you, Miles, you're the one who knows my name, and you're the one who told everybody my name was Madam Killyman Brady. No, it wasn't me, I swear it wasn't me. And just to repay his innocence with malice, she ripped off one of his legs. And ever since that day, mules have four. And then she came down by the spring where the crabs lived, with their 7 crab wives, their prodigy of crab children, their inexhaustible swarm, their crab cousins, godchildren, and godparents. And they were all gathered together there because some of the she-crabs were getting ready to give birth to a whole swarm and clutch of crablets. And some were just about to go get the midwife, when Madam Killyman, Brady Man, Killyman, as was her wont, lit into the crabs. Hey, you crabs, you're the ones who know my name, and you're the ones who told everybody my name was Madam Killyman Brady. And the crabs, so incensed at the show of disrespect, yelled back at her and let the spittle fly. That's right, you old hag, you roly-poly bat-faced set of toothless gums. We're the ones who know your name, and we're the ones who told everybody your name was Madam Killyman, Brady Man, Killyman, Madam Killyman, Brady Man, Killyman, as they danced in capers around the spring. Now this gave Madam Killyman fits of furry rage, the kind that smooths out your skin by making it all puffy, but leaves you with white hair. She raised that cutlass with its blade of misfortune and came down with a flat side. Oh, shed a tear. That cut their song short. Their flat brimmed boaters and their long necks was sent all the way down into their body, and their regal heads, once held down so high, were squished into whatever was left. And ever since that day, crabs have been headless. But despite this devastation, the crabs continue to call out in broad daylight Madam Killyman's name, and their voices echo through the underbrush, climbing up the evergreen philo trees, where it launches us off to an endless ferment of ears, room among his tattletales, and those detestable souls that write and rewrite stories. And Madame Clermont knew her name was going to be so well known that she would never again be able to force lost travelers to bring her water by subjecting them to that hoary riddle. And somewhere deep inside, she had too much ego and too much self-pity and too much gassy wrath. And she tripped, and in a hot woman spectacular fashion, she hit the ground so hard that it opened up like a well-thumbed book of suffering and slammed shut on her like a Bible of fate. And that place on earth became so unwholesome. It's where poison ivy and poison sumac got its start. And just at that time, all the charms surrounding that house exploded, and the light they gave off was something marvelous to see. And everything was made beautiful. There were rows upon rows of blue breadfruit trees and patches of everlasting yams. And the girl, she lives there still, along with that snake, who became quite a fine fellow. And everybody is welcome to their house after story time to hold up a glass in honor of the lovely lady of the house. Thank you all very much. I have really, really time here.